All right. How you doing? This week two. We're just going to go through. I think I've got three examples here. One of them kind of matches a couple different questions, and then I've straight up just picked two questions out of the list because some of them are really difficult this week. So I'm going to go through a couple of those. Hopefully, you can find the questions between those. And again, they're quite difficult. So even if you picked out a couple questions this week, go for it. If you have any questions, again, our emails are on top. So please just let us know. Alrighty. So for the first one, I've skipped out a ton of words to get the main points across. If you've got somebody that gets paid $13.10 on the weekend, it's always going to be more on the weekend because you get those penalty rates because people don't want to work on the weekend, and $8.50 during the week. Okay, so she's got a different wage depending on when she's working. She's aiming to save $310, but she's only able to work 10 hours on the weekend. That might be because of sport, got stuff on. Yep. So we want to know how many hours during the week would she need to work? Now, this is really close to, I think it's going to be this first question here, part B. All right, so I've just changed the numbers a little bit so you can pretty much follow along. All right, so for part B, we're aiming to save $310, okay, but we can only work 10 hours on the weekend. So first of all, let's figure out how much we can earn on the weekend then. So we've got 10 hours and we're earning $13.10 per hour. So on the weekend, we're earning $131.00. Got to figure out how much she still needs to earn during the week to get that 310. So she still needs whatever's left over when you take away what she can get on the weekend. Type that into your phone or your calculator and you're going to get $179 for this example. It might be a little bit grosser in the other one. Just remember to round to the nearest cent, so 2 decimal places. So she still needs to earn $179 and she can only do that at $8.50 an hour. So if we're figuring out how many hours, really what we're saying is $8.50 times whatever number of hours is equal to 179.00. Okay? If I'm ever in this case and I'm trying to figure out something times something equals this, if I want to figure out what one of these things is, I can divide by the pay. All right, if I'm getting paid $8.50 per hour and I want to know, well, how many hours was it? I can write 179 divided by how much I get paid per hour, and that will tell me how many hours we need to work. All right, go through that one more time really quick. We started with the weekend or the weekend wage, sorry. We figured out how much she still needed to earn. Okay, and with that amount she still needs to earn, we're getting paid $8.50 per hour. So if I divide what she needs by $8.50, that will tell me how many hours, which is 21.06 hours. Okay, may not come out nicely. So that's the first one there for you. For the second example here, okay, we've got a satellite dish salesman earns a retainer of $400. Now, it comes from the same idea as the retainer in a wall or the retainer that you use with your teeth after you've had braces. It holds, it stays intact. A retainer in terms of wages and money is an amount of money that is always there, no matter what. So people who work on commission, like in this question, or maybe if you work at Harvey Norman, or maybe you work in, I don't know, any business that works on commission. Okay, so sales, you generally get a retainer, which is a minimum amount of money that you can be paid per week. So this bloke, he's earning $400 a week and 17% times whatever he sells. Okay, so a commission is 17% of whatever he sells. Okay, so if he sold like $50,000 worth of stuff, he's getting 17% of that. Okay, so for the first question here, we want to know his weekly salary if he sells satellite dishes to the value of $8,750. So we know in a week, he's always going to get this $400 retainer. That's set in stone. And then he's going to get 17% of whatever his sales were for the week. Pop that into your calculator. You will need to find the percent symbol. If you're using one of our calculators, it's that shift button and then the percent button. All right, so it'll be in yellow. If you're using your phone, I think if you turn it sideways on an iPhone or an Android, you should be able to do it there. If you can't find the percent button, just let us know. Another trick you could do, if you're really stuck, is you can always write it as 0 point that percentage. That's the same number. Another way as well, if that doesn't work for you, 17 over 100, that's also the same thing. Okay, chuck that in your calculator. You should get $1,887.50. Okay, so he's not getting that much of what he's selling, all right, but that's still a pretty decent salary. For a week too, gee whiz. So for part B, it's going to be a little bit trickier. We need to figure out what value he needs to sell to get a total pay of $2,400, $2,400. So we're trying to say with his $400 retainer, how much more does he need to sell, getting that 17% of whatever he sells to end up with $2,400. First thing we're going to do with our $2,400 is take away that $400 retainer. That's going to leave us with $2,000. The reason we're doing that is then we can say that, well, 17% of whatever we need to sell is going to equal that 2,000. All right, we need to get rid of that 400 extra first because he only gets 17% on what he actually sells. Okay, now what you could do is sit here for 20 minutes typing in numbers trying to get really close to 2,000. But there is a better way, like we did with the hour question before. If you're saying something times something equals this, all right, so we're saying 17% times something is 2,000. I can divide by one of these options and I'll get my answer. Okay, so if I'm trying to say, well, what's this percentage? That's the same thing as 2,000 divided by 17%. Okay, again, you could do that 2,000 divided by 0.17, and you should get an answer of 11764.71. I think I rounded that as well. So what this means is, in 1 week, he needs to sell almost $12,000 worth of satellites to walk away with $2,400. Cool. All right. Have a quick go at 5. This is going to be quite a tricky one. All right. Again, if you don't get up to this point, that's okay. Just do what you can. We are going to go traveling and we need to save $5,000. I currently earn $1,000 a week. All right. So clearly I'd need to go 5 weeks to earn $5,000. So part A is saying, will you be able to go traveling in 4 weeks? Well, 4 lots of $1,000, that's going to be $4,000, which is not 5,000. So no, that's not enough. That's all you have to do there. For part B, during a 4-week period, you also, so on top of that, earn a weekly loading of 15%. Okay, so weekly loadings aren't going to come up too often in your jobs. What you're more likely to see is called annual leave loading. And so that's generally for people that are forced to take annual leave, and they tend to get 17.5% annual leave loading. Now, what it actually means is that when you're on these holidays, or just for this bloke throughout his week, you're going to get an extra 15% of whatever you are bringing home. So if you're a teacher, you're forced to take holidays at the end of the year, only at the end of the year. We don't get it at every 2-week break. you're going to get annual leave loading, right? And so for that big break, you get an extra 17.5% on what you'd be bringing home. So you actually earn more money on holidays, which is pretty cool. Okay, so for this question, he's getting an extra 15%. So what we need to figure out, well, he's earning, change back to a pen. He's earning $4,000 for the 4 weeks, and he's getting 15% of that $4,000. Again, grab your calculator, grab your phone, type it in. We're going to get $4,600. Is that 5,000? Still no. All right, still not enough, even with the 15% loading. So the final question is, what percentage of loading, so we're trying to figure out what the actual percent is to get $6,000 after 4 weeks. All right, so now we've actually upped it from $5,000 all the way to $6,000 after 4 weeks. So we're going to set up kind of an equation here to see what's going on. So we've got, in 4 weeks still, we're still earning $4,000. Okay, $1,000 a week, bang. And then we're getting, now I don't actually know the percentage, so I'm going to do this one in black so it stands out. We're getting some percentage of that $4,000, and we want to walk away with $6,000. So that's what we've set up. This is just what we bring home, and we get some percentage of that. We want to figure out what that percentage is to get an answer of $6,000 at the end. Okay, just like with the other question, I want to get rid of this bulk pay, like just this amount from the total, because then that just leaves us with the percentage bit. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 4,000 away. All right, I'm going to take 4,000 away from this side here and from the total. So I'm going to be left with some percentage of 4,000 is equal to $2,000. Now again, I need to figure out what this is. And again, if I have something times something, and I want to figure out what one of those things is, I need to divide my answer by the other thing. So in this question here, I want to figure out what my percentage is, so I need to divide by 4,000 on my answer, okay? So I'm going to get rid of it here, but I'm going to divide it from my answer. You're going to be left with some percentage equals, now if you type that in, you should get 2,000 divided by 4,000, or 0.5, or you might have gotten 1/2. Whenever we do percentages, we're always going to do decimals though, same with money, always going to do decimals. So if you get that on your calculator, there should be like an S to D button. You can hit that to change it to a decimal. Okay, we're almost done. Now clearly 0.5% doesn't make much sense when before we had 15% and we were getting less, because now we're looking for $6,000. So 0.5% doesn't make sense. It's too small. But the trick with percentages and the word percent is that it needs to be out of 100. The word centipede has 100 legs, a century is 100 years, a dollar has 100 cents, right? The word cent means 100. So if I'm ever making or figuring out a percentage, I've got my answer, 0.5. To make it a percentage, I need to times that number by 100. Always, always, always. So for percent, to make it out of 100, you got to times it by 100. Finally, I'm going to get an answer of 50%. Okay, that was quite a tricky question. All right, if you got that far, well done. Even if you just follow along this example and you get stuck in your own, that's fine, but see how far you can get. Again, what we did from the get-go is we took off that bulk amount from our answer and from the question, because then that just leaves us with the percentage bit. Okay, if I ever have a percentage or something unknown times something, and I want to figure out what one of those things is, I need to divide that other thing across. Okay, you get 0.5. Now to make it a percentage, it needs to be out of 100. I always need to times my answer by 100 when I'm getting a percentage answer. Okay, so this week, stepping it up a little bit. What I want you to do, have a go at these knowing more questions. You can definitely do the first one, maybe the first couple questions, definitely this whole first page. I reckon you could do this as well. One thing to be aware of, a clothing allowance, all you're doing is adding that allowance each week. So an allowance is just extra, like pocket money, all right? You just get it, okay? You should be able to do a few of these questions. Some of them are going to match up to our example. Maybe some of the numbers are different. I just want you to go through, do as much as you can. Regardless of where you finish, I do want you to have a go at this task. So it's less of a question, more of a task. The earning money wages page. Okay. If you have access to the internet, go for that. If you don't, you can ask your family, friends, anyone around you. I'm not encouraging you to go meet your neighbors right now because it's probably not the best time for that. Okay. But just try and talk to the people around you. All we're going to do is answer the following questions. So I want to know, what are penalty rates? Okay. And I want to know, when do you get those penalty rates in New South Wales? And I want to know, are they any different from Victoria and New South Wales, and what those differences might be. Cool, that's it. So have a go at as many questions as you can do. Regardless of how many you do, you definitely want to have a go at this, please. Your wages can be super relevant for you as well, because you want to know what you're going to be earning when you get a bit older. Awesome, thanks guys.